gosh, bit gutted there because
Hello world.
you see all those all of our songwriters. What do we do for our songwriter Zoom, Paul? We see in the songwriter Zooms, and we're also in, singing Zooms.
At the moment, still since last week.
How could we do that? So because we sing for 3 hours with a group in the US and with a group in Scotland.
Since last week, it's only started since last week.
We'll have to find an alternative little Zoomy woomy.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
That's tagged anyway.
That's me done on the songboard.
Will we begin?
All yours, Michelle.
Okay, hi guys, hi everybody. I'm joining on a Zoom call and live on Facebook stream. This is O'Vale's Culture Night Cork event tonight. For anyone outside of Cork, it's an annual night of celebrating Cork culture. But despite lockdown, we are going to celebrate regardless tonight. So the format will take place as it usually does for our O'Vale Monday nights. So for any new people joining us tonight, the format will be, we begin with a 5-word challenge. So a small little friendly competition where you get the chance to write a short poem. We have 2 lovely guest poets reading for us tonight, one being our local Cork native Shauna Lee Lynch and Chandrika Narayanan-Mohan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So I'm going to kick us off with our 5-word challenge competition. So basically I'm going to collect 5 words from any 5 words at all from any people joining us on our Zoom call right now. You'll then have 15 minutes to write a poem, including the 5 words. And if you'd like to read out the poem, you could be in with a chance of winning 2 books. And usually we would offer you a free pint at the Hayloft Bar. But tonight you will get the option of any drink in your fridge or in your cabinet that you've been saving. You can crack it open for a special occasion tonight. So I'm going to ask our Zoom viewers now for any 5 words they like to contribute over the chat box on Zoom, and we'll pick the first 5. So far we have 2-3 words in. I'll wait for the next 2 and then we'll list them out. There we go. Okay, so our 5 words for the challenge are place, tango, culture, dowry, and hydro. So Paul has just reposted those 5 words to confirm. And I'll just read them out again for anybody on Facebook who does want to participate. So our 5 words are place, tango, culture, dowry, and hydro. So I'm going to put everybody on mute for about 15 minutes. We'll come back and see how you're getting on then. Best of luck. Okay, guys, welcome back. Our 15 minutes is up. I even threw in 2 lucky minutes for you. So what I'm going to ask you to do, everybody on our Zoom call, is if you'd like to read your 5-word poem, please type 5 words plus your name into our group chat. And the first bunch of people there, we're going to get to read. So whether you're reading or not, I'll remind you that you are the judges of the winner. So please keep in mind what poems you like, and we'll cast our votes after the readings. So I'm going to kick right off with the first volunteer to read, which is Hilary Quinn. Just so everybody can know who to vote for, please just mention your name before you read your poem. So if you want to unmute yourself and take it away, Hilary.
Thank you. As a woman without a dowry, I knew my place among elite society in Ireland. No lace-hemmed dress for me, they say we have no grace, yet we tango like we channel Buenos Aires rather than the alley off Galway's Air Square. Our culture, our own and richer than any precious metal. It's hydroelectric, they call it metal, and we are full of it. Thanks.
Thanks, Hilary. Next up, could we get Genevieve?
Hi, I'm Genevieve. The tide rises and falls with each expansion of her lungs. She is the place where frogs leap and spiders spin elegant webs. Culture and art cascade from her fingertips and dance the tango into the wind of each living soul. Graced with the dowry of time, she has blessed the earth with the life. She blesses the earth with life and waves of hydroelectric energy. She is more than the eye can see or the ear can hear. She is the feeling of joy, dread, and rage. She is what pulses through our veins. She is life.
Lovely. Margaret, Genevieve. Next up, can we get Pam?
I'm Pam. Drip, drop, drip, drop. Hydro-held bubbled images waver in and out of place. Dowry held, picked clean to the bone. A vulture culture, a tangled tango gone wrong.
Thanks, Pam. Next up, Jim Cricket. Jim, you're muted.
Sorry. After regretfully spending a sizable dowry on cigarettes, I've decided that I've tangoed with Nico for the last time. I wind up my finger to the chemical zen and kiss goodbye the culture of smoking rooms, a place where secrets are confided and gossip is incited. It is day 2. I find traces of Nico in my pocket. I wash my hands when I think of him and slather them in scented creams. If I'm struggling, I dunk my head in icy water. Hydrotherapy.
Thanks, Jim. Next up, could we get Philip?
Hey, I didn't expect to be so on early. So if has anyone ever read Isaac Asimov's The Last Question? You might get a taste of it from this poem anyway. There is no culture of being environmentally kind. The dowry of our earth sacrifices is indispensable. This forceful tango we have played has become abusive, that when we ramp up our engines, it's affecting the chemical balances in our atmosphere, and switching the power may not be enough. Hydro burning up in the stars may power up 1 million cars, but they sooner or later may go out, dry up. We may even find a way of wasting the wind and soaking up the tears from the sun. The last question, asked Isaac Asimov, when do we have enough? When do we understand enough is enough? And when is it too much? Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Philip. Next up, could we get Brendan, please? Brendan, are you here?
Sorry, this is a serial failure. Try again. In the hydro on the Wirral, Varadkar was feeling cute. He could handle Fatboy Johnson and resolve the hard border dispute. Brexit had landed as a dowry when he took the Taoiseach gig, but Leo smirked and Leo smiled. If you're going to think big. Only two could tango, the clock ticked on, tick tock. He had Boris where he wanted, the world waited. Then a shock. Leo had been outwitted. The fat was in the fire. He hadn't allowed for the fact that your man was a congenital liar. He'd lied at Eton and Oxford. He'd never known his place. He'd lied to his wives and his girlfriends. He'd lied to the Tory base. Oh, Leo, silly Billy, you really don't get the culture. Dublin 4 smugness cuts no ice when you're dining with a vulture.
Thanks, Brendan.
Okay.
Next up to the mic, we have Lauren.
Hello, I'm Lauren, and this will be short and sweet. Alone in this place with no culture, wishing one could tango. I'm ready to cash my own dowry and make coal go hydro. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. And next up is Augustina.
Hiya, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Brilliant. She held a cad of tango in her hand and told me, let that man go. He is a vulture and will eat you alive, she said. Yes, they say it belittles your culture to return the dowry, especially after you've pretended everything was rosy and flowery. But every time you stand up for yourself, he sprays you down with words like a hydro cannon super soaker. How long are you willing to keep your poker face?
Thanks, Augustina. Next up with a slight trigger warning is Stanley Knott. I don't know how he made it into the call, but he's here now. So we'll let him read.
I'm really happy it's just a slight trigger warning at this stage. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks. If you want culture on culture night, you have to find the right kind of place. Or as we say here in Cork, the right kind of gaff. Now, a gaff can come in many shapes and sizes, but shape or size isn't the deciding factor when seeking the perfect gaff for a cultural experience. Not at all, boy. Not at all. What you're looking for is a vibe that, like a temptress, is irresistible. A kind of voluptuous vibration that slinks over your skin and then sinks into your soul. When you find that, and you know when you do, well, then you're sorted, boy. Then you're sorted. As it happens, I know just such a gaff. Its location is a secret, its topography is perfect, and it was designed to meet your deepest desires, on a cultural level, of course, by a man seeking the perfect partner for his offspring. I can't say it was a dowry, for the designer has made it clear such terminology would only belittle his work. But I can say that on my last visit, he had just installed a hydropole in the center of the main exhibition space. There are 4 smaller ones. And that the water tangled elegantly around wide-eyed visitors enjoying the Gaudi-style tiling on the walls of the pool. Others drifted zephyr-like through halls bedecked with images from many a century. More still danced deliciously in shoes dedicated solely to rhythm. And me? Well, I stared across the city, wondering how all this could be located in a treehouse overlooking the rebel county.
Thanks, Dan. I love the cork swing on it for the night that's in it too. Lovely. Next up, could we get Catherine?
Hi, delighted to be here on Culture Night, lads. I call this poem my personal ad. I am a hydro Pisces, willing to tango. I want to take you to an exotic place, full of mirth and mischief, downtown culture, underground jazz, artists painting naked in the rain. This is Donkey Jacket Cork. I offer you exotic, and a little psychotic, but no dowry, sorry.
Thanks so much, Catherine. Our final reader on the 5-word challenge, unless somebody wants to pop their name in the next minute or two, will be Ada.
I was trying to mute from the keyboard, but the window wasn't active and oh my god. Also the connection is crap, so if I fall out, just go on without me. It will be sad if I miss out on the night, but the provider decided to be horrible again. The poem is about the possibility of me going deaf. Sometimes you start thinking morbidly and think, what if I go deaf or blind or something? And I decided what I will do exactly if I go deaf, so now I'm not afraid of that possibility. If I go deaf, I will be loud, scream as loud as I never dared. Yes, a low noise, culture constraints will have no place if I go deaf. If I go deaf, I will be loud. Silence is dowries, tango, fear. Hydros, construction sites, screams versus void, one versus all, I will be loud. That's it. I always wanted to scream, I was afraid to.
Thanks so much, Ada. We got 3 more readers jumped in there and responded to my mild threat. So first off, we got Mags.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to read my writing. Okay. Take a cultural tour around Éire and motor first to County Clare. See what they have on offer, but we're sure with us they just can't compare. Check out, at the Hydro Spa in Lisdoonvarna, there are eager, loveless men who offer handsome dowries for you to do the dance of the 7 veils for them. And then swing next north to Clifton, and they're teed off by the Quangos, who milled in and then mixed a Molotov cocktail to fire off a few newly elected honchos. And then there's a lot of bluster west of Doonbeg, where there's sometimes you can see a blonde gent who's been truly tangoed, who welcomes those same Quangos back for high tea. Thank God we're safe in deep south. There's culture oozing down the Lee. Sure, we have our own TV studios. We have Theo Dorgan and we have Paul Casey. We have the Crawford and the Glucksman and Fionn Barras and the Kino. Spring poetry and the winter warmer. But above all, Ovale's the best spot to be though. That's it. Mr. Verse.
Thanks, Mags. Dead right too. Next up, could we get Cedric, please?
Hey, good evening. Do you hear me well?
Yes, perfect.
I wrote so fast, my heart is still racing. All right. So it doesn't have a title yet. I'll find one later. No place matters much, whether or not we create a household or another bloodline. Blood has gotten so much thicker than water that the people are now too dense, unable to float before they dip their toes in the sea of relationships. They dive in and die from the hydro cushion, leaving offsprings behind as a dowry of sorts, with the ship of culture sinking further. The soil isn't the culture, it's the choreography. It takes only 2 to dance it, but it takes generations to create a tango.
Thanks, Cedric. And finally, could we get Paul Talent?
Yeah. It's called Perfect. What is perfection? A thing or an idea derived after inspection. To some, it's an ideal never to be met. To others, it's the love that comes from a pet. But what's more perfect than the memory of youth? When you drink apple tango and you lose a tooth. Remembering that culture that you learn in school. When we give our confidence to the popular fool. His name is Drew. I say, hi, Drew. I give him my smile like it's some sort of dowry. As he turns to me and he says, how are we? That childish smile on his face, that's my perfect place.
Okay, so it is time to cast your votes. I'm going to ask everybody on the Zoom call to type in winner and then the name of who they'd like to win the competition onto the Zoom chat. And just be careful that you are typing it to everybody and not to as a private message, just so people don't think I'm rigging the votes or anything. So I'm just going to give you guys a minute to get your votes in. And I'm going to try to count very quickly.
Jesus, Catherine, I meant to say it too.
So yeah, guys, it looks pretty.
Catherine is in.
It's pretty close. It looks like it's Catherine. Congratulations, you're the winner.
Yay! I should have thought it was Catherine.
Woohoo!
Oh, you're going to be tangled.
Brilliant, Catherine. So, Catherine, can I ask you to reread your poem for everybody?
With pleasure.
Thanks.
Good woman, Catherine.
My personal ad. I'm a hydro Pisces, willing to tango. I want to take you to an exotic place, full of mirth and mischief, downtown culture, underground jazz, artists painting naked in the rain. This is Donkey Jacket Cork. I offer you exotic, erotic, and a little psychotic, but no dowry, sorry.
I actually.
Well done, Catherine and Cedric. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. And yeah, just want to add that Cedric came very close second there with one behind the call. I think with a couple of minutes to go in the writing process. So
Donkey Jacket.
Thank you.
Catherine was really good, so no regrets.
Thanks so much. So Catherine, we'll send out two books to you. One of them will be the Coventry publication with Shauna and Ben featured on it from last year. And the other, as Paul Casey is holding up now on his camera, and the other is one of the 5-word anthologies. So if you want to get your postal address to us, we'll send those out to you. And if you want to help yourself to drink from your own cabinet, please do.
I will now.
Do sure. Yeah.
And one for us too. A Molotov cocktail.
Nice one. So guys, just before I announce our two lovely guest poets for tonight, just usual housekeeping, some announcements for you. A lot of our announcements tonight are rooted at the O'Vale website and various avenues of the O'Vale website. So it's always worth just a gander at that website to see what's up there if you're looking for something to do with your creative mind. So our first announcement is that the 5 Words Volume 8 anthology, so the competition that we just did tonight, has been running live at our live events for the last over 10 years now, and also online weekly. So every year we publish an anthology with some selected poems from the year. So the 8th volume is available as a free PDF on the O'Vale website, ovale.ie/5words Paul is just posting the link to that on our
Yep.
Zoom chat
Just
right
to
now.
mention that it's volume 13, Michelle.
Oh,
Just, you
excuse
know.
me. It's volume 13.
13 years. Yeah.
Roman numerals aren't my strong point, but there we go. 13. Thanks, Paul. So the next announcement is the 5 Words International Poetry Competition. Open to everybody to enter for free. There's first, second, and third prize are all cash prizes, and first prize also includes a beautiful sculpture glass award. And of course, an invitation to read out of Vale in April next year. Whether that's online or in person, we'll see. So the 5 words for the online competition this week are guest, layer, autumn, curve, and crumble. So Paul will retype those words up on the chat as well. Finally, this, as well as being streamed live on Facebook right now, we do have an archive of all of our events as an MP3 on the Ovale website. So if you'd rather not be included on that MP3, or if you'd rather not have your camera turned on for the Facebook, that's absolutely fine. So just let us know. The easiest way to let us know is by typing no MP3 and your name into our chat. You can always contact us after the call as well if you change your mind. So also, things are changing. We're running this online now, and we do aim to be a safe space for writers online and just the general public attendees. So while the private chat mode is available for everybody here to use, swap compliments, links, whatever you want to mention or whisper to other attendees, we do ask that you please be respectful communicating via these channels. And please, if you are uncomfortable for any private chat message, just message us or contact us immediately to Ovale, or you can use the private chat or email at info@ovale.ie. So our guest poets for next month, I'll just mention them now. So we have a Nepalese poet, Yutsu Sharma, who will be performing live from Kathmandu, as well as the South African poet, Cobus Moolman, who will be performing live from Cape Town. So that's going to be a really exciting event next month on the 12th of October. Also, we don't have our jar to pass around under the horse's head these days, but we are still accepting PayPal donations of absolutely any amount, and they can be made through the website contact page as well. So all those links Paul has just posted up on the chat, and of course they're available to the Facebook viewers. So now, guys, the juicy part of the night, I'm going to introduce our 2 guest poets. I'm very excited. Our first poet reading tonight is Chandrika Narayanan-Mohan. She's a Dublin-based arts manager and writer from India, who's also lived in North America, Sweden, Turkey, and the UK. She's been featured on the Mock and Mortified podcasts, with work aired on NPR and Irish radio. She's also regularly performs at literary and cabaret events in Ireland. She was selected for the Irish Writers Centre Borders programme in 2018 and 20. Her poetry is included in Writing Home, The New Irish Poets from Daedalus Press, and was recently published in The Honest Ulsterman. This year, Shandricka will be the first ever guest editor of Trumpet, which is Poetry Ireland's literary pamphlet. So enjoy for the next 20 minutes or so. Beautiful reading from Chandrika, and just in advance, thanks again, Chandrika, for coming and sharing your work with us.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah,
yes.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for inviting me technically to Cork, even though I have to admit, I'm not in Cork, I'm so sorry. And happy Culture Night, everyone. I just want to say, I work in a theatre company, so it's been quite a day for everyone in general, but for all of us in the arts as well. And before I start, I just want to very quickly say that the arts is worth supporting, and a lot of us arts workers are having a bit of a time, and that there's a lot of work that goes into making art of all kind, and someone that starts right from the bottom ends up as the films you watch and the books you read and the things that are talked about in popular culture. It's all part of a process. So just want to start by saying, save the arts, support the arts because it's, you know, arts makes life worth living and it's worth saving. So I just want to start with that because it's been a day, you guys. Oh, actually, let me see if I'm on speaker. I'm going to pin myself so I can see myself. There you go. So I'm going to start with an introduction, which is how many things do start. So this is a poem called An Introduction. Hi there. Allow me to make an introduction. I am smiling because I can highly function on wounded birds and spark plug repairs. These are the cogs turning, going spare when I hand you my business card and instill confidence. The work I touch turns to gold. I don't have to shout about it. So I don't have to be quiet about it. So I shout and I let it all out because work is a thing that I can't do without, because it makes me feel worthy and wanted and loved by strangers, because the dangers of real intimacy scare me way more than accountancy. So why can't I, map-minded, apply the formula for a business life to me, find like-minded individuals who make me feel at home in myself, to co-achieve, co-love, co-produce friendship. What a collaboration that would be. A grand production, hey, look what we made. Isn't it great? I want to show off how I feel right now. But then I guess it's a performance, not an internal reevaluation, accounting of stock and inventory that's being ticked off box by box. I want to be well in all capitals, so I can be in YouTube videos about how I won against depression. Go me, see, if I can do it, so can you. Thumbs up, wink. Hey kids, don't do drugs unless you want to. So where is my certificate of trying hard? I want a handshake every time I don't hate myself, a pat on the head when I clean a single dish. A thank you for not being abusive today would be great. Thanks, take your time, I'm here all day, not going anywhere. No, it's fine, it's all in my head. I breathe. Traffic signs stop. I want to swim in a calm of my own making. I want to take bad news without shaking or smoking 8 cigarettes in one sitting and crying myself hoarse, unslept, unkempt. I want a brain as organized as my desk, with a to-do list I can tick off, where I can chart my progress, mapped, monitored, reported, quantitative results, organized, alphabetically sorted, but instead it's just a series of palpitations that tells me that today isn't okay. And in absence of swollen eyes, it tells me that today is. Today is. It exists. And the number of times I tried not to, when I planned my way to a watery grave where the black turquoise freeze would squeeze me out of my own room, I would give myself to the land that fed me sadness, and I would be part of your sand, getting everywhere, stuck in people's pants as a last revenge from the afterlife. All the times I felt like an inconvenience, at least this time it would be on purpose. But goddamn the fight in me. The low hit points, but the urge to battle. I was never built to quit, but built to be hit repeatedly by circumstance and by my own fist. Still battered, still stitched, my patchwork quilt heart still beats. Sometimes too loud, sometimes barely, and sometimes rarely. It beats just for me. And when it does, I smile at the world. I really do. And there's that streak of dusty sunshine that tells me today, it's fine, and thanks. I'm fine. How are you? Thank you. It's so weird to just see clapping, but it's so nice. It's really nice to actually see all of you, so thank you. For a bit of background, I moved to Ireland 8 years ago from the UK, and I wrote a poem about it called Brexit Blues, which used to be the main thing we worried about. So yes, this is called Brexit Blues. He never really leaves you. I cry in my bathrobe, I make a playlist. England, I love you, but you're bringing me down. My boyfriend is confused. The UK just dumped me. He doesn't get it. A country leaves my veins. I fall in love again. I fall for an accent that fits my face, with Dublin bikes and 20-minute walks, with a determined river with bridges and lampposts. I think about it, I work till I burn and go, I'd like to make you mine forever. But he never really leaves you. And 4 years later, my heart is shredded anew. I sit scared and anxious. I live on a parallel street. It's not your home anymore. It's not your home. Would I have the courage to defeat a face full of spit on a crowded street, a slur like a cut across the eyeball? Would I be brave? Would I intervene? Would I stop him, the darkness in him? Would I be able to stand? Out of control, he's lashing out through centuries of sickness. He was set alight, and the ugliness is a shout behind a triumphant sneer into the ear of a terrified stranger. I thought I felt nothing, but it's bubbling black and viscous as I breathe relief on Irish soil with my heart clenched like a fist. Thank you. So after moving here, I tend to write a lot of poems about the cities I live in. I am the child of a diplomat, so my idea of home is definitely not one singular thing. And my way of feeling anchored in any place is to be attached to the city, because I don't have family and friends come and go, but the city is the thing that stays constant for me. So I tend to write a lot of poems about it. So I live on the north side of Dublin, and this is a poem I wrote called All Roads Lead to Dorset Street. A lake of cracked yolks on the north side sidewalk swims in the haze of a previous forgotten night. I lie awake in the cake slice bakewell bellyache from a little bit of late night Dublin life. In a rain-rushed town, in the soft hush of a Sunday morning, the motorized whale song of Dublin bus and the screech cry of a Dublin gull pulse slowly, awakening from a coma, a moment under a microscope filled with the aroma of yesterday's garbage and a fry-up. In this sweet, half-awake moment, melting into a freshly laundered pillow, one of many Dublin pillows, we open our eyes to a collective sleepy consciousness, that mass of restless Sunday bodies closing their eyes for a few more hours of sugary bliss. Half dreaming, half remembering, we start dozing into a memory of Wellington Quay, where slumping puppet skinny jeans hold on loosely to their liquor slick girlfriends, bored taxi drivers pause, remembering their last cigarette. A dream snaps back to a sticky scene. Hot sweatbox royalty spills out, drips out, with saccharine sweet perfume and ecstatic screams. Loud, crackling laughter rubs against a silky shoulder, slipping into something subterranean and alien, pale beauty made of false standoffishness. And over there, tangled in his legs, laces untied, spinning inside, stepped over by a girl in sharp heels with a sharp face who was dreaming of Netflix and a warm duvet. We live in a city of footsteps and dreams of bed, junky mutterings and Spanish chatter. We roll and revel in booze and banter, or step over it in the dank orange lamplight of Capel Street, where all finally starts to slow down on the walk home. Bursts of accents puncture the pavement. The night ends early for me, and I see everyone else's little Saturday night worlds, and the girls who look like burst sausages with tired, heavy lashed eyes, staggering home only to be pigeon plain by morning. But tonight they are sticky, tacky birds of paradise, wings askew, filled to the brim with Dutch courage and buckfast while those late shifters bustle past with only one thing on their mind. They can already hear the flick of the light switch as their tired, tired day becomes dark for some hours, precious few, before they start again, exhausted, anew. In 15 minutes, the pilgrimage ends. A can of Druid impaled on a post welcomes me back to the chapel, where I worship an absence of lovers and friends and a bed wrapped in cotton candy solitude. No, there's no food in the fridge, and no honey, I'm home. Just a beautiful moment of being alone in the holy loneliness that only Dublin provides when the bottom of your jeans are wet and torn, crumpled on the floor of a rickety flat, a Bakewell cake slice of a house that once was. It's raining outside and getting colder. We're all strewn across the wet cobble, getting better, getting older, and forever dreaming damp dreams by a slow-moving river. Thank you. So I do have a lot of love letters to Dublin, but this one is probably the most pointed one. This is called You City, You Boyfriend. And this was actually part of a book called Writing Home, the New Irish Poets. Very cool to be part of this. It's over 50 migrant writers have their poems published in this, published by Daedalus Press. And I have a few poems in there like this one. Seated awkwardly on a wooden box, we're on the last of my cigarettes, my 5th in 2 hours. He talks and talks and talks, and my replies are only punctuation for his next sentence. Across from a grey slab tower, the city smirks, raises an eyebrow as if to say, you know I'm so much better than him. And you're right, because when we converse through the choke of soft air, we exhale each other in whispers on a walk home where a smile has broken my face from the realization that yes, you are better than him. You are better than all of them because you push up through my thin soles and I feel every pebble when treading across your tar bump skin and I feel embedded in you. You city, you boyfriend, you dusty hug. And when I tell you that you're beautiful, you blush across the canal, even though you already know that gray glamour suits you and you don't need to be told. I wear you like an arm across my shoulder. And when the wind pushes my hair back, I don't need an errant hand across a cafe table to push it aside. Like me, you play your cards close to your chest, but when we mourn, we crack and the rain pummels onto the pavements and across a million cheap umbrellas. So take me in and make me yours, because I've already let the pollen in my pores anoint me to an orchestra of rustling leaves and seagull song, and one day I will take thee to be my lawful wedded home. And I shall wear a dress of summer fog and a ring of past lives, and you will smile and shrug. And in your humid indifference, I will vow to love you anyway, because I'm a hopeless romantic, and you're a city that keeps its own name. Thank you. I wish you guys could see my ridiculous setup, by the way, with my laptop on a tower and all my poems, like a sort of casino table situation. But I'm just gonna pretend to be very adept at this. I have a few short poems now for you. These two are also from Writing Home. As someone who has a life dictated by borders and by immigration, I never have gotten over the delight of crossing the Irish border heading north, like just on a train or a car, just the nothing that happens. It's just really magical for me. And obviously that's now something not to take for granted anymore, but it's just for me a really special experience to just cross a border without any stress, or minimal stress anyway. So I wrote two poems about heading up and down. One is called The 1035 from Belfast Central to Dublin Connolly. A behemoth sweeps by in a screech of city dust metal, warm blood on a cold spoon, Dublin winter smell. A horror movie clink of chains is only the bulk of a man releasing his two-wheel steed from a pole down the middle of O'Connell Street. I go north for the night to speed around a different country with voices like marbles in pink flesh spit mouths. The Cathedral Quarter has yet to reach a crescendo before I get a lift back to an Airbnb off Ormo Road. Next morning, heading south in purple seats full of birdcage chatter, someone mentions Theresa May, and I can already taste the soft melt of Cadbury as I decline when she offers me a piece. My phone hasn't alerted me to a change of provider yet. The landscape betrays nothing, only graveyards, silk misted farmhouses, and double glazed windows sunk into brick, warming in the morning sun. Thanks. And this is Plain Train. Legging it off to be the first in line, striding through the airport, queuing for hours, itchy feet, bored scrolling until bland-faced official looks, types, stamps, doesn't smile. Ordeal over, anxiety subsides. But today I am kissing the earth with speed, velvet hills whipping past in poison green and bruise lip blues. The only signs of crossing is a text on my screen. But what if I'm caught? There'll be no turning back, so I keep a hold of my passport as we slip down the tracks, ready for when the winds may change. Thank you. What am I on time? Okay, I've gone 50 minutes, so I'm gonna do two tiny ones, and finish on one more. So as you can see, I write about cities and moving around a lot. And in lockdown, I actually started delving a little bit back into other kinds of poetry and other topics. I actually started thinking more about my family memories and writing about them. So this is one about my mother called Ararat. My mother is a Bible. She inks her sadness into uniform lines that I reach for in the comfort of darkness to trace fingers along familiar choices. My mother is a prayer. She becomes the sounds I chew over dinner, the repetition in my fury, the snarl in my hair. My mother is risen. She holds aloft a tumor the size of a cathedral in gold mosaic, radiation like sunshine warm with blood. My mother is a prophecy. She screams across the desert, her tongue a testament, as she teeters above the memory of a deluge. Thank you. And this is another small one about my mother, which I actually recently won a prize with, which is very cool. First ever poetry prize winning. So I just kept telling her I'm just going to keep writing poems about my mother and keep winning stuff. Maybe that's the magic trick. So I wrote this the day of the SpaceX launch. While my mother and I, she's in Switzerland, I'm here, we were on the phone looking out the window, trying to see the rocket, and then later on, like the sort of capsule. We didn't manage to, but anyway. So this is called Stargazing with my mother. We've seen stars fall before, she says over the phone, as we peer out over rooftops from different sides of Europe, looking for a blip or a spark against the blue, trying not to mistake a rocket for a star. You need binoculars, she says. And I remember how she demonstrated before handing me a pair as the Hale-Bopp comet blazed across a New Delhi sky. Look, over there, she said one time, pointing to a needle streak of white as we stood outside a Swiss hotel, not caring what people would think of two Indian women gazing upwards into the night. Thank you. Okay, I have kept you all for long enough. So I have one last poem to end on. And I thought I would end on a hopeful note for everyone in general, for the arts, for everything. And thank you again, Ovail, and for inviting me, allowing me to be part of Culture Night, especially all the way in Cork. Nothing can keep the arts down, right? No matter what, we find a way to pull people together to share stories and have a pretty good time regardless. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely night and have an amazing time listening to Shauna Lee Lynch because she's amazing. So this is Engine of Love. I am an engine of love. I am steeped in the fumes from the spluttering, the muttering, and all the false starts. I have fed myself the fuel of regret and insecurities that bite and rust that stiffen, but now I must somehow ignite myself into existence. I have wires and veins, and they're clogged with sadness and an inward crumbling, stumbling over a mess of detritus shattered from a stronger beta version of myself. I spent a long time with wires crossed and screws loose, a heart coated in the dust of neglect and disuse, and every extended length of copper was left disconnected. Nothing conductive to curl onto, nothing electric to flow through. But I have visions of pistons, black slick and oil thick of locomotion, of motion raring to go, because I have stopped up every exhaust I could have used to dispel this toxic ooze in my throat, shuddering into palpitations of what a sensation it would be to feel an ease of connection. So here, take this key, oil up this tin man and start me up because baby, I need lubrication because the imagined sensation of white hot action is too much for these old metal plates that have contracted and shrunk from the cold. I want love to shimmer in the air around me. This smile is going to be a sunshine machine. You've never seen anything like it. I shall churn out magic with my fingertips, touch and glow. It's going to be hot, and I want everyone to be caught up in the spin because in the state I'm in, my core will be rotating faster than the speed of light, and any moment now, I just might burst into life. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much, Chandrika. usually the better the poet is, the more I tune out and forget to do my job. So I've totally done that tonight. Thanks so much. That was really gorgeous. I'm sure everybody can relate to the city hopping and you know, thinking about their family members as well, and digging poetry out of that lately. So yeah, it was really, really lovely. I hope to meet you in person someday at our home venue for O'Vale. But until then, best of luck. Best of luck with all the work. I'm now going to introduce our next poet, Shauna Lee Lynch. It's not her bio, but Shauna is an absolute legend and a local Nari, and I can't wait to hear what she has to say today. She's a Cork native, a writer, an actor, a director, a producer, and she is the current reigning All-Ireland Poetry Slam champion. As a spoken word artist, she has performed all over Ireland, including past night events, Electric Picnic, as well as Lit Fest in France, the Garden Party in Lisbon, and Fire and Dust in Coventry. She holds a honours degree in drama from Ireland's Conservatory of Music and Drama. She has been involved in many theatre and film productions over the past decade. Last year, for example, she co-produced and acted in the play Wishful Thinking, which ran as part of the Dublin Fringe Festival and Cork Arts Theatre Emerging Artist Programme. Also last year, her poetry was featured in the chapbook Paper Incantations as part of O'Vale's Spoken World series. Her writing playfully weaves modern feminism and pop culture with politics, social commentary, and tradition. That's enough for me. Shauna, thanks for coming along tonight, and yeah, welcome from everybody.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. I should shorten that. I would have been quite happy with just the first 2 sentences. Thanks a million to Chandrika for those lovely words. It was really great to hear your stuff, and thank you very much to Paul and everybody at O'Vale. I'm so happy to be here virtually because 3 years ago on this day I said the first poem that I ever wrote at the O'Vale open mic. So it's very special for me to perform here this evening. Unfortunately, it is not IRL. Today did take a toll, I think, on a lot of people, artists in particular. It was a day for feeling all the feels. But I'm going to start with a kind of cheerful-ish poem that I wrote 2 years ago, and I found on my computer at the start of this year and kind of pieced it together about finding the fun within madness and bleakness. Although saying it now, it's a little bit ignorant maybe, because a lot of the stuff in it is kind of much harder than it was at the start of the year. But it's bleak out there, people. Global panic at the end of the planet. Brexit and fascists are all that's in fashion. The system is broken and no one has a clue. It's so depressing just watching the news. 'Tis true, we are on the verge of extinction. Emissions and mass evictions have us in a precarious position. Yet in this epidemic, recreation is imperative to give your amygdala a break and stop worrying, for God's sake. At least for a while, give it a try. Cycle to the Spanish countryside, humming Congolese lullabies, whatever it is that makes you smile. Do that, then do it some more. Do it until your eyes get sore, then rest your lids, and when you snore, dream of rainbow dinosaurs reciting K-pop love poems to NASCAR drivers in Thunderdomes until you wake up giggling. Don't take things so seriously. There is no script and the apocalypse is now-ish, so we might as well enjoy it. Let's go lie by the lock, hold hands, take off our socks and look at birds flying overhead. Make the grass our bed, share a pillow with the ducks, and remember what it was like to not give a free second of your day to anything other than play. What do you say? We could race paper ships, eat ketchupy chips, do somersaults in the nip until the sun is eclipsed. When the darkness has covered, we'll get out our maracas and shake along with the crickets and frogs, build a house from logs, furnish it with ends and odds, and pretend the floor is lava. There's so much drama and sadness, worrying about jobs, relationships, the empirical conundrum of existence. Don't get too stressed trying to comprehend philosophy's tests like Zeno's paradox, when you could be off playing Xena Warrior Princess, or Power Rangers, or witches, flying Teenage Ninja Mutant Hero Turtle kites. Don't censor your mind to the confines of adult stereotypes. Think of silly things that make you feel alive, because with all this suffering and fear the end is nigh, we may as well try to have a real good time. Thanks. It's really funny. I actually get more nervous doing this in front of a computer than I would in front of lots of faces. So it's a bit of a strange one. The next poem that I'm going to say is about going shopping for shoes. Going into sports stores has become a terrible assault on the senses. JD Sports and all those shops, I found it very difficult trying to get shoes. And when I wrote this, it seemed like a lot of the stores in Cork City were being closed down and turned into JD Sports, and that the whole city was going to become one big JD Sports. So this is that. Walk through the door of the shiny new sports store and metamorphosis begins. I'm no longer me, I'm a rap star, MVP, hip drops, arms swing, bob and weave, a basketball player, champion, neck adorned with bling, Ali stepping into the ring. What the fuck's going on? All I want is some trainers. White light contorts my vision, mirrors and strobes against black corridors trapped in a Tokyo Times Square prism. Alice in Adidas land down a Reebok rabbit hole. It's so bright, can barely see the young lad standing in front of me, poised like the Hulk, can just about make out his mod phase buzz cut. Can I help you, miss? He says, with Cheshire cat eyes. He's had too much exercise. A protein powder, Lacoste for men fusion. He's a psychedelic optical illusion that morphs and bends. And at this stage, I feel like I'm at a rave and I've taken too much MDMA. What the fuck's going on? I just want to buy some trainers. Grime music saturates every vacuum of the store. Syncopated breakbeats vibrate ceiling to floor as an order to buy more. Aggressive encouragement or intimidation. Every atom rattles. All of a sudden, a portal opens and I am temporarily transported to an underground London nightclub in the early 2000s. Big up you, Kim Massive! Then whoosh, I'm back in store again. This is too much. I have to get out. Emergency exits are blocked by mannequins in tracksuits doing squats. My smartwatch beeps manically to remind me to breathe. It seems I forgot. I try to run, but the arms of Nike zip tops spill out and catch me. Polyester jogger pants come to life from clothes rails. They wrap around my ankles and yank me to the floor. There is nowhere to go. The whole city is a sports store. People sit and watch as I try claw my way out. They eat their cornflakes from Converse high tops. This is all there is. There is no more. The whole world is a sports store. I surrender. My attention lands on a basket by the escalator, filled with neon soccer balls and a sign that reads, 25% off. Get it now before it's gone. That'll do. I get into it. Feel my flesh turn to a yellow leather. Hair, teeth, nails, eyes all invert to nylon and rubber. Rib cage curves, crown conjoins toes till I'm spherical. Slowly my markings start to appear. A black tick emblem. I have already forgotten my name. what the fuck happened. All I wanted was some trainers. Thanks. Thanks. So weird, lads. Not gonna lie, it's very weird. So the next poem I'm going to do is inspired by a drag queen. I am a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, and out of all of the seasons that I've seen, there's like 120 of them now and I can't keep up, but out of all of the ones I've seen, my favorite drag queen is a drag queen called Monique Hart, and she is a very spiritual person and has a lot of faith in God and Christianity and stuff like that. And she really struggled with being a drag queen and being a gay man and having this faith. And when she became a drag queen and started doing drag, she said that she found her way of like spreading God's message through her shows and performances. And she gives kind of like sermons in her performances, and she is amazing. And when I was watching that, I was like, Jesus, if she was given mass, I'd go every Sunday. And I think that drag queens spread the word of love much better than you'd find from a man in a black suit telling you, you know, that you're going to go to hell and all that. So this is a reimagining of what I would like religion to be. And it's called Make the World Gay Again. Hear ye, hear ye. After a catastrophic history of conflict and sanctimony, we've decided it's time to give something else a try. A new proposal we instate for all priests to be replaced by flamboyant poet drag queens. Sanctioned Sunday Mass at disco, a DJ at each altar, a monastery of mirror balls, communion of joy and laughter. Fine attire must be donned, be ready to twirl for the gods. All that condemnation to hell got quite exhausting, so we've decided to try a more celebratory approach of love and compassion. That was, of course, our initial aim, but of it we've made a hames. It's high time for a change, to spice up our lives, as those girls would say. We'll keep the wine, encourage to be kind, throw a party in the pulpit, fill the pews with those for who an apology is long overdue for any humiliation we may have caused. We'll keep the rainbow windows, the stations of the cross-dressers, switch Adam and Eve with the snake to Britney at the VMAs, exchange Mary Magdalene for Madonna. Like a prayer and I'm a slave for you will be sung wildly by the choir. We'll applaud divas, Jezebels, whores, thank those who came before, for no one here will cast stones. We'll be out here living our best lives. Hashtag mass goals. When the ceremony begins, this performer in heels taller than Patrick will open her mouth with sassiness and teach kindness on her tongue. We'll pray to patron saints, RuPaul and Panty Bliss, all the Stonewall kids, those wrongly persecuted, and those who dared to vogue. The world is hard enough without being told you are full of sin. We've come to this realization, so we've decided to let that sit for the time being. The church will now be fun and inclusive of everyone. It's been in the closet for far too long. It needs a revamp, perhaps a false lash, a sequin gown to stop all the moping around. We hope fringe culture inspired glamour will save us from our sorrow. We thoroughly regret the shame we endorsed and forced you to internalize. So now go forth and wrap yourself in light, give yourself that ooh ah ah, and let's make the world gay again. Thanks. Thank you very much. The next poem that I'm going to say, I wrote 2.5 years ago. It was it was a month and a half before the 8th Amendment in Ireland was repealed, and it was a time when there was a case, a sexual assault case, where these rugby players were accused of sexually assaulting a woman, and the evidence that was suggested to the public suggested they were guilty. And it seems that the wrong verdict was given and justice wasn't particularly served. And there was a big dispute about it in Ireland. And it was a very aggravating time for women because we weren't being treated with our reproductive rights at the time. The law was against us. And this happened a month and a half before that. And it felt like a massive injustice, and it was painful. It was a really painful time to be a woman in Ireland. And that day that the Belfast rugby case trial was announced, the verdict, I was walking down Washington Street in Cork, and on the top I saw, is that my feedback or is that, no? I saw the statue of Lady Justice on top of the courthouse, and I was very angry with her. So this is a poem that's addressed to her. The women of Ireland are mad at you. You won't treat us, you won't believe us. Your scales are in need of a service. Lady Justice, Goddess Justitia, look at what's been done to you. You can't see too well. Your blindfold has been pulled too tight and left on so long that brambles and ivy have grown over your once optimistic eyes and left you lazy. Is that why you have let us down? If you were relying on just your ears, perhaps you could not hear us. There have been centuries of silence being shouted over and hushed. Can you hear us now? Because we're screaming. The banshee is sick of your shit and she is howling. The Sheog are frantic with your lack of judgment, so much so they wonder if they accidentally cursed you many moons ago to make you so careless. They have no record of this, but fairies are not known for their bookkeeping skills. Off the coast of Connacht, Leinster, Munster and Ulster, the sirens sing a song of melancholy as the mermaids mock your millennia of meekness. The high goddesses of the Tuatha Dé Danann are quiet in their dispute for the island's namesake. Eru in particular has gone quite into herself. Her sisters are worried for her and all the sisters of the land when what has happened for so long and for so many. They are squeezing the soil in anger, watering it with tears, pushing out yellow roses as the bowrong beats to the tune of grief. Can you hear them? They are screaming. Can you hear us? We are screaming. Bring your scales back to Argos because there's something wrong with them. Take off that crusty blindfold, wash your eyes with chamomile and witch hazel because there's something wrong with them. Clean out your ears with candle wax and come back to us, lady. Bring your voice and your sword. You are needed. We are screaming at you, for you, to hear us, to treat us, to see us, to believe us. Thanks. Thanks. I just want to say again how really special it is for me to perform at O'Vale's Culture Night because I love O'Vale obs, and that it's the 3-year anniversary of when I started doing poetry, so it's very special to me, and it's great to see so many familiar faces and many new faces, and I'm absolutely thrilled. It is a difficult time for artists, and you know, we're pulling through as best as we can, but it's really hard. So it is great that this is still going, and you know, that we're all doing our best out in these streets. So I just want to say thank you again, and this will be my last poem. So thank you very much. Just gonna have a little drink here. Jeez, I forgot. 2 seconds. This is like the one that I'm always like, I'll never forget this. Some of you will probably know it. Oh, I have it. Keeping it fresh. The ice caps are melting, the planet's in peril, the penguins are getting a tan. There's disassociation in a takeaway nation, and the X Factor still has an audience. Bring back the magic, the spells, the tarot, the worship of nature and fear of Earth's karma. Dead dancing darkness, shadow marionettes of mysterious beings, Gaia, Wiccan energy, black art feminists, Incan mummy princesses. No Elysian sleek ideals here, pal. No sorry. You can't buy a cauldron in IKEA, and a reusable coffee cup won't solve global warming. Give us a shot at that old sorcery, raw, visceral alchemy, October moon voodoo, conjuring, not contouring spirits into life. Dread werewolves and vampires, not deposits for first-time buyers. Quell the never-ending row about tax brackets. Send the corporate to the incorporeal, afflict all the influencers, resurrect the necromancers to raise up dark mambo divas on a Friday night, fling bodies in forfeit to poltergeists, the unexplainable underworld, pinch teenagers glued to their phone, shake them up and rattle their bones, and tell them stop Snapchatting each other from across the same room. It's boring. Whip out the Ouija board and see who's trending. No, no, click, click, scroll, scroll, eye of newt and tongue of toad. Invoke she-devils, Bruhera bitches, the Snow White witches, not glorified yoga teachers charging mandatory donations for spiritual meditations of internet incantations, grocery store incense, and not a black cat in sight. Give me maenads, banshees, talismans, fairies, patience in belief. People still aren't recycling. New Orleans jazz saxophones, telekinetic temporal folds, psychics contacting the spirit world, nights spent supernatural, not scrolling through Instagram like a sugar junkie's candy rush, stashing tinfoil fashion sites. I'll do rituals to protect the earth from her destroyance. I have insomnia in the witching hour. I light candles for juju power. I need a belief in something higher than me, a connection not charged by USB. I'll drum and dance, offer a vegan sacrifice, scatter Santeria stones on my Scandinavian wooden floor, and say a prayer for when the tide comes in. Thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And yeah, keep on.
Thanks so much, Shauna. That was absolutely gorgeous. I didn't know you were celebrating your 3-year open mic anniversary, or however you want to see it. But really, like, what you've achieved in the last 3 years is phenomenal, and we're all here just celebrating with it and just enjoying what you've got to give still. So thanks so much, girl, and well done. How is everybody feeling, even though you're muted? Give me a facial expression. Lovely. Gorgeous. We're about to go into our open mic section. It's now your turn. Feeling gay? I have on the on the chat. Good stuff. So we're about to go into our mic session. If you want to read on the open mic, which is the next part of the evening, please type in open mic plus your name on the Zoom for Zoom participants. Sure thing, you can be on the list. So we're going to do that. Another really quick announcement. I am drinking on the job tonight, and As you all know, I'm a very aggressive drunk, so feel free to cut me out of the call if I start starting fights or anything like that. So we do have some open mic participants flowing in right now. We're going to try to fit everyone in, guys. If it is over 30, 35 people, we're going to have to cut it off. But let's get everybody in tonight. I'm going to kick right off with our first reader, which is Massimo.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, it's an honor to be here, as always. I'm coming from Philadelphia, PA, in the US. So I guess that's one nice thing about everything going virtual is to be able to be a part of this. So thank you. All right, let me just take a hit of water real quick. So just for a moment, come back to the stillness, back to the absence that fills us. Pour out with love you are distilled with, the source of our realness that shows us what real is. No matter how real what you feel is, just let it be there and stay here where here is. The mindless, the eyeless, the earless, that mirrors the spirit we see with and hear with. In calmness and clearness, can you be strong if not fearless? With closeness and nearness, just feel the strength of the presence you're here with. No spirits, just spirit. As you reappear through the wilderness, find your heart, ask how it really is, then let it beat back. That's where the healing is. Unseal your eyelids and shine where the movie reel wheel of the mind is. Reveal through your seal of disguises and reveal, and let it yield its surprises. Can you remember the times when you never knew never and now was forever? Can you remember the pleasure, the pain, whether worse or for better, whatever? Just feel where it's tender. Find peace, no need to piece it together. The stitch in your fabric is perfect, no matter if the work in your pattern is patched or irregular. It's like we're running and running through forests of nothing, till suddenly we see that we are the something. Hunting for love when the truth keeps us stumbling, till we see that we are the truth for uncovering. Maybe the cycle we're stuck in is that to be loved, we must learn to be loving. We're probably here for discovering something we already knew without uttering. Whether blossoming, blooming, or budding, even the process of withering plants us a seed yet unseen of life soon to be coming. Coming to be by becoming. Something to see that's so humbling. The further expanding, the more understanding what once was so troubling, suddenly comforting. A puzzle so perfectly puzzling. But back through the wilderness, only this time it's no longer wilderness. Open fields where there's no innocence lost leads to inner children still in us. While fantasy scatters like glitter and sweetening matter like sugar and batter. Reality gathers our dreams, giving backbone to truth like the rungs on a ladder. With thoughts hanging weightless in spacelessness, waiting the waves of our energy's waviness. The frame of our body gives mazes to grazing with safety to dream and to play in, while our soul plays the role of sojourner, the silent worker and wakeful observer, or even the yawner, the yearner, the counter of sheep and the half-asleep herder. But back to the path, for we stray any further. Yet even in straying, we find we are further. Yet somehow in staying, we find we are surer. If maybe this love is a cause there's no cure for. So follow your heart. If not out of wisdom, then love is a start. As parts of a whole, we're just playing our part. But still being true to yourself is an art. Thank y'all. All right.
Thanks, Matt. So where are you joining us from tonight?
Me?
Yeah,
Philadelphia, PA in the US.
nice. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
For sure, for
sure.
sure. That is lovely. Next up to the mic, could we get Pam, please?
Yes, I'm Pam, and I'm from, right now, I'm coastal South Carolina in the United States. All right, my mother. My mother is a ghost town, condemned and boarded up, where insurance burns carve gaping vacancies. She is where people gathered and roared the night she killed the renegade, where I saw her before she was lost to fire. She is the wide, welcoming avenue, soul-sucking welfare depression, the hooker, the alcoholic, struggling and dying. Sometimes my mother is Doris Day in Rock Hudson, in Saturday morning dime shows where popcorn is free. Sometimes she's the canal, clean and full, the breeze rippling clarity and holy water. Sometimes she's skipping on sidewalks. She's bulging with life, breaking through her cement shroud. She is the fog, lifting ice-cold feet off bruised, dew-kissed grass. She is smooth and brown with hair as black as coal, full of mystery, swordplay, and song. She is whole, no longer vacant by choices made for and by her. She is full of light and comfort. My mother is forever lost in time and all that held her memory, exploited and stripped of her treasure, that I, too soon from her embrace was torn, still seek.
Thanks so much, Pam. That was lovely. And next up to the mic, could we get Lauren, please?
Thank you very much for the lovely night of culture that's in it. I would like to read my closest to cultured poem that I've got, and it's called Irish Melodies. I study poets past, my long dead bardic brethren, each one of Ireland's children. Their words 100 years or more ago were penned, their thoughts, their feelings many long years ago were felt. I reach into the past and hold their beating hearts. I hold their words to ear and Irish melodies I hear. I search the scholar's work for context, keys and clues to build their world again from grim Dublin to fairest Cork's fresh air. Their nationalism, it permeates all things. Pride deeply penetrates these Irishmen who only English speak. New art they pioneered in the old master's tongue. Of written Irish poetry when Gaelic scholars and learned speakers were none. Those few privileged to write in English no Irish knew, and those who could speak Irish still waited to be slew by sword or starvation. Now comes an awkward question as we move on in time, leaving our language further and further behind, embracing English to structure our mind. What makes an Irish poet? Can we write Irish poetry with brains that do not function, our language lacking to junction, head to heart, soul to mind? None cursed the Tsar with cloven tongue, as said by Armand Mangan. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lauren. Just to mention, we do have some more space on the open mic. If anybody decides they'd like to join in, just mention open mic and your name on the chat. So that was Lauren. Next up, we have Hillary. You're muted, Hillary.
Yeah, just got it. Thank you. Just want to say thanks to everybody for reading everything so far and everyone to come, because the standard is always outstanding for O'Vale. So thank you, everybody. This is called Crumbs. I didn't know I was made of crumbs until my innards started crumbling, and neither would you if up to then you trusted your recipe. Work hard, be kind to others, ingredients for all wise advice to life. And I succeeded until I didn't. Wisdom kept hidden, I wasn't even dough. No sticky substance with potential born, but layers of crumbs in autumn that sank like a wet moth under the first wet month. The curve of my sorrow didn't peak for 10 years. Now a process decades in to realize all I'm missing. I wallowed in it, if I'm honest. Perhaps if I had been made up of steel shards, of gunmetal bits, of radioactive mist or diamonds, I wouldn't envy those who could simply make dough. No short-lived guest serving of tea could make me believe my soluble bits had the worth of a biscuit. You can brush me away, and yet I persisted, in my own mind's eye, manifesting this strength of mine, based not on material substance, but a trail of crumbs to myself. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Hilary. Next up, could we get Ada, please? Is it Ada or Ada?
Ada. But never mind, it's okay. I'm learning German now, so probably Ada is all right as well. Okay, so thanks everyone, and it's a beautiful night, and everything's very gay today. And this poem I'm going to read it will be in my new book, comes out in October, and I made a Corona sequence to celebrate the Corona period we have now. And this is a third sonnet from that Corona sequence, and it deals with how when you try to grasp ideas, but you cannot because your brain doesn't have that capacity, and you have to chunk information instead of having it all at once, and you don't understand anything, and then just drop the whole plan. So I think it never left primordial soup, mad as the seas, primordial soup can't catch at once so many notions in a group. So chunk it, cue it, portion it, and patch results astound you as it's frankly shit. What do you expect? The random complex world, all that in brain in ordered cells can't sit. You only ever read the words in bold. So poor decision with poor learning blend. Chemistry fixes? Well, I wouldn't know. The sonnet sadly legal, I contend, and anyway the side effects I know. You only ever read the words in bold. That's if all things are equal and unfold. Something like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ada. Next up, can we get Margaret, please?
Thanks, Michelle. This is an acrostic poem. It's called Love Undiluted, and that's down the left-hand side of it as well, same title. Love, when it embeds, when it embodies, or to be known, or to notice, velvet-like softness, enveloping the mind and heart. Under the skin, under the rim, naked desire seething within, dreamily sending high-voltage signals in sparks and synapses, connecting, lustily fusing, cylinders firing, undulating, free-floating filaments, terminal throbbing, primed and longing, excitedly rushing towards neurotransmissions, dripping, gushing in rapid release. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. Next up, can we get Philip Spillane, please?
Hey everyone, I hope I'm coming to you clearly. So I'm going to try, good. I'm going to try Risk tonight. So you might know this poem or you mightn't, but I'm going to try it in a different way, introducing it in something called the moth mythology, which actually happened, which is the only true mythology. And you always have to introduce it in such a way because I am Knox, the first human, the inventor of the light bulb, the false moon and the first sun. I heal the sky after every day, from the scars of the spider's industrial age. I am the night, my daughter is Dax and she is day, and maybe soon she might consume me. So I am the storyteller, but I'm not the writer. I am not the one who made up these stories because they are all true. The bats, the moths, and the pappies know, and they are the first creatures, and they're the ones who wrote these stories. So learn from them because they know. The spider's industrial age. To reach the moon, the spiders wove in rain clouds into 3 motorways that are lighter than air, dark as coal and inky like rubbish bags, a puffed up collection of fibered webs that umbrellaed the sky pitch black. As these arachnids suffered from acrophiliae, so they built layers and 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 layers of cloudy layered heavens, stories and stories and stories and stories and stories. To the earth was like a scaffold of stormy clouds that quaked in anger, jointed, quaked in anger. It's difficult through Skype or Zoom or whatever. That quaked in anger. Jointed by Ethernet braided ladders in which those scampered up, till they came to the see-through barrier, that zone between sky and space, in which those hungry for height spiders could not bypass. So from the topmost floor, all those clouds collapsed like burst balloons, and oil black rain fell in bucket loads. That was a climate change, a crash of an industrial age. The moon goes black to remember, the clouds go black and the spiders stayed black. We dig up black chant in the stones. We smoke the black into the night and spill it into the sea. To commemorate, no. The spiders don't say so because we have been to the moon and back. Sorry, I tripped up in the middle, but thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Philip. That was gorgeous. Thanks for taking the risk. Definitely paid off. I can never tell where your intro stops and where your poem begins, to be honest, because it's all so lovely.
Hopefully you might hear more from Knox soon. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks, Ron. Next up, we have our 5-word challenge winner, Catherine. Take it away.
A great poem, Philip. Really enjoyed it. My poem is called Harbour Master. Harbour Master of souls, hoarder of hearts, where did you take my queen in silent ransom? You have left a pillowcase, billowing changeling in her velvet sweet place. Slashes of blue purple tear the palace. Songs of acid rip cushions. We fail with the strongest prayer, fragrant lavender amulet. Harbour master of souls, hoarder of hearts, cast your guile, sail her back safely. We wait on the rocks. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Lovely visual round of applause there for you. Lovely. Next up, can we get Augustina, please?
Hiya. This one is called Creative People Stink. Some people might have heard it before if they've been to the Spoken Soul Sundays. The reason why I wrote it, I actually wrote it at one of the Spoken Soul Sundays. I had a few drinks and I was like, everyone is just so amazing. And every time I leave these sort of environments where there's loads of creative people, it lingers for a couple of days or weeks, you know, these people, they stink, right? So here we are. Creative people stink. Walk into a room and you'll smell a creative person amongst hundreds. The more creative they are, the more they stink. They stink of creativity, and the stench is soul purifying, mind clarifying, and energy charged. That stink is the kind of stink that lingers like shit under your fingernails. Everywhere you go for at least a couple of hours or so, everyone will know that you were in the presence of something often offensive, the creative.
Thank you, Augustina. Next up to the mic, we get Colm. Colm, we're hoping you show up tonight, so thanks for coming.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so sorry, I had to go away there. I just after opening a bottle of beer and someone came in and dropped it all over my desk. So I was cleaning up there for about 10 minutes. But I saved most of the beer. And no, I dragged out this one that on Culture Night normally read this one. I read it at O'Vale about 5 years ago. I actually wrote it that day. So I suppose just because we're virtual, I don't see any reason why I'm going to read it tonight as well. It's called Culture Night. Culture me arse. Don't talk to me about culture. There's no culture in Cork. I'll tell you about culture. The Butter Exchange Brass and Reed Band. No, that's culture. There was men played in that who played for royalty. Old Fusiliers trained in London. There was one fella, Stapleton, he played for the King at Windsor Palace. There were 7 or 8 bands in Cork that time. They'd be besting each other of a Sunday morning down the park. Such rivalry. And that's back in the 40s now. And choirs. Don't talk to me about that choral festival. Bringing in fellas from abroad. There were great choirs in Cork long before that. I remember up in the North Cathedral, Brother Jerome had a choir. Bass, baritone, tenor, whatever you like. Alois Fleischmann was stunned when he heard him. He couldn't believe it. Culture Night, how are you? Do you know what killed culture in Cork? The Republicans. When they burned down the Opera House. Oh my God, the old Opera House, what a beautiful building. It had a wonderful circular entrance coming out onto Emmett Place. And the gorgeous old metal staircase inside. And the shows of a Saturday night. My God, Gilbert and Sullivan. The Gondoliers. Now that was the show. You know that, your father was in it. The Gilbert and Sullivan Society. Sure, that's not music that they had know at all. Even some of the miscellany has gone to pot. Gone are the days when you would hear John McCormack of a morning singing a beautiful melody from Thomas Moore. Oh, believe me, for those endearing young charms which I gaze on so fondly today, or the last rose of summer. No, 'tis all Ab and the Beatles. I wouldn't give you tuppence for them. That's culture for you. They're all cultured now. With their year of culture and their culture day. All you have to do now is pick up a brush and you're an artist. I could tell you about art. James Barry from Watery Lane walked himself up from nothing, painted the gods. That's what art should be about. Mirroring the heavens. Do you ever see any of his stuff? Classical. That's what it's all about. Copying the ancients, studying the masters, like St. Mary's on Pope's Quay or the courthouse. Now that's real architecture. Not like that St. Francis. They ruined that too. Knocked down a beautiful building to build that Byzantine thing. What do they know about churches? The Greeks, the Italians. That's who we should follow. That's where culture was born. Michelangelo, Da Vinci, Pavarotti. There's no culture in Cork. Not anymore. The only culture is in the butter. And even that's not right. I could tell you about butter, real butter made the old way. Cheers.
Nice one, Colin. Very good. We'll book you in for same time, same place next year.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be in the pub.
Hopefully, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm sure you're spilling all your pints at home anyway. Not much has changed there, has it?
See you.
Nice one. Thanks, Colin. Next up, can we get Jim?
Hey guys. So this poem is called Shaving Off My Eyebrows. It was something I did to prepare to get ready up, like get into drag. Like you've got to get rid of the man brows and draw on these fabulous drag queen brows. And there's a whole like process to that, gluing them down and stuff, but I was rubbish at it. So I just shaved off my real ones so I could, unleash these fabulous ones. And this is the poem that came out of it. Under harsh bathroom light, I shave off my eyebrows. I say prayers to the razor and hold a moment of silence that I won't look like a thumb when I'm done. As hairs sprinkle into the sink, I begin to think about the HD brows I'll be swanning around town with. I take an eyebrow pencil and hope to cajole Da Vinci's soul through my hand and draw the fairest brows in all the land. I feel Frida Kahlo taking the wheel as the lines of coal conjoin, and I'm sporting a straight up monobrow on fleek. I feel vitriol towards God that he didn't crack lightning rods through the ceiling and knock the razor away from me. Time passes and I creep out of my house, a small daylight victory, wearing glasses to hide my shame. I seek spiritual counsel from the wise ones in Brown Thomas. Like a white witch, she places me in the white light and teaches me the ways of the MUAs. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. Finally on our mic, unless anybody wants to jump in last minute, can we get Cedric, please?
All right. This one came after the third glass of wine. So hopefully it's going to be good. But it's a very sincere, it's a prayer. I believe in the gods, about the demons and the devil, about how real is evil, about how existence is but a breath, but life is a beat in all things, either moving or sitting still. The change from fire into a form and sparks, the heat against the universe cold anvil, struck forever by the hammer of divine will. I believe in that fleeting moment. I will accept it must be forever. For we come from nothing, and to nothingness we can never return, ever. We vision of a shapeless dream, patterned on the fabric of the original dream weaver. I believe my sins will be absolved, for they bring what success will not. I pray that when I finally dissolve, somewhere unconsumed remains the happiness of our lives resolve. Together with my brothers and my sisters, I pray, I stray.
Thank you, Cedric. That was beautiful. As we all know, no open mic is complete without the addition of Mags Creedon. So I will introduce herself.
I thought I put my name in there.
Sorry if I skipped you, Mags.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous readings. I really enjoyed them. And well done, Shauna and Shandrika. I just want to say one word to someone who did me a turn 4 years ago, Carol Sullivan. She was so meant a lot to me, and 4 years ago she helped me launch an album for charity, and I'm thinking of her very much tonight. So this is on this theme of invisible. We all fight invisible enemies. She's fighting some little thing too, but nonetheless still a fine and talented person. So this one is for an exercise we got there with Catherine and Sue, and we were asked about being invisible. So these are the kinds of invisible I thought of. The invisible. He dons a mantle of oblivion so that no one can see the state he's in. Drops his eyes, won't engage, stops them reading from his page. Just change the color of your skin, morph just like a chameleon, blend into the foliage and sink into that camouflage. Secret messages encrypt you, encoded smoking signals cloak you. Like an aging woman, they look right through you to themselves. Like a cat at night steals right to you, slick and black, he'll sneak right past you. That's the Heineken. Click the latch, it's in there. Leaves you wondering just where, blind and visible and here. like a child who keeps his eyes right down, duty bound, won't look around. Silent he stays, transparent and pale, making sure not to be found. Go to that land of the disappeared where they stow away their hidden fears, deep in the ground where pain can't be found. Be invisible, my dear. Invisible, microscopic tyrants, paralyzing time, storing the vulnerable in petri jars. Silence the music, a John Cage unwritten rhyme. The songs through which music was laced, no gold chords to tie up these strings, invisible scores, a solo now to play. But in Abu Dhabi, you're invisible, only a few gulfs away, and I feel and see you nonetheless, since you think of you each day. An invisible love is mobile, past land boundaries, it knows no borders and no time zones. You are not in my sight, but these air kisses, these thoughts will find you. Silent, sublime, invisible, still mine. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Grace. Okay, everybody, that concludes our open mic and almost our night. So before we wrap up, I should thank everybody who participated tonight. A personal thank you just to the whole Ovail community, because you know there's some people on the call here who've been here for the last 10 years or who just joined tonight, and as you can see, it does not matter. It's just a lovely resource to have at this time. So thank you from me, Michelle, very much. Also, thank everybody who participated in our 5-word challenge tonight. Our winner, Kat, and our runner-up, Cedric. A visual round of applause for those guys.
Oh,
nice one.
Hey, woo.
To our guest poets, Chandrika, Narayanan-Mohan, and Shauna Lee Lynch. Thank you so much, girls. Readings were absolutely stunning. If any of you want to find out more about the work of those poets, what they have done, what's coming up for them, Paul's posted some links in the chat there, but for any of the Facebook viewers, just contact us and we'll link you up with the girls' online accounts there as well. Thanks to everyone who participated in the open mic. It was absolutely gorgeous. I had a really nice night. Thanks so much, guys. So we're going to what we would usually do in Cork City on a Monday night now is pop around the corner to Maine's Wine Bar for a chat. Instead, we will recreate that artificially on Zoom. So what we're going to do now is wave goodbye to everybody joining us live on Facebook, and you're welcome to stay live on the Zoom call for a chat. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye, Facebook.
Thank you.